Well, hello there, everybody. You thought we were late. No, 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 no. We were not late. We were just kind of hanging out and we asked a question and has anyone seen David Barry? Um, we certainly miss him. So anyway, that's what we were doing. Full disclosure here across the board. So
Yes.
welcome if you're here. And I thought I saw Jenny earlier, but I'm not rightly sure. Um, I think it's just you and I now, Trina. She'll be
Oh
back.
boy, these
Nope,
technical
nope.
difficulties.
Yeah, Jenny, are you still with us? No.
Yeah, yep. I'm just
Okay.
getting it to view.
Well, let me just speak favor over all of us. That's how we work here. And because we are favored beings, and if you're here, well, be happy you've done fulfilled your destiny and fate for this moment at this time, at this hour. So thank you for doing so. Nothing missing, nothing broken. We call those things that be not as though they are. And so welcome. It is Tuesday, so it is second look day. You know me and my beautiful co-host, Miss Trina Phoenix. How are you, dear?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
Any better, I'd be guilty.
I like that
Never
answer.
that innocent to begin with. You know where that's from?
Where?
Famous line in the movie Wall Street.
Oh,
Charlie
that's right.
Sheen,
Yeah, that's
yeah, yeah.
right.
After he
Mm.
met George Gecko, and he was starting to pull in the big bucks, and anyway, so that's where it goes. Because we all love music. And y'all can't see her, but she's there. She's coming on. There
Yeah.
she is, Miss Jenny. How are you doing, my dear? Good to see you.
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. It's been busy. It was Theo's birthday on Sunday,
Happy
but he
birthday,
started.
Theo.
Happy
Oh,
birthday.
thank you. So he's the last baby. I've lost all
Mhm.
babies of single digits now. They're all
Mhm.
double digits of one means or another. So he's 10. So I haven't got any single digits anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, Jenny, it's just different stages of life, my dear. And
Yeah,
Hmm.
I
yeah,
still find it
true.
hard to believe that you have three children. I mean, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Rosie is 24. Theo
Wow.
Will's 15 now, and Theo's 10. So it's like, come on, no more babies in the family.
Hmm.
Flown
Yikes.
by
Goes by quick, doesn't it?
too quick sometimes, too
Yeah.
quick.
Did y'all see there where I think it was over on Ben Davidson's Space Weather News now, I think is his new channel name. But it is a scientific fact that the Earth is our days are becoming much shorter. It's spinning faster, apparently.
Do it.
And
And I did this experiment because I saw somebody speaking on it. And obviously, I'm driving around in a car now where there's a certain age of men. They stop and stare, and they're not staring at me. They're going back to the time when they could first afford their nice car because the car is that old. And it's a Peugeot 406, so it's a very specific model that seemed to break a mold somehow. And they did the engine really well. So for a while, I thought, why am I attracting all of these, men of a certain age in their 60s? But they're not staring at me, they're staring at the car. And now I've realized you can see them going off into memories, of this classic Peugeot 406. So it's got the old clock. It's got none of the mod cons. It's the old clock. I've kept testing it and resetting the clock, and the clock on that clock gives me around an hour and a half at the moment extra each day than the clock on my mobile.
Wow.
that's very fun. Yeah, and I think if I saw you, Jenny, in a was it you said a Peugeot?
Peugeot 406,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
It's like a saloon.
You'd be a
Uh,
hot chick, but you're saying they're not looking at you, but they're looking at the
they're
yeah,
not
I can
looking
dig
at
that.
me, they're looking at themselves in that car in whatever moment in time is catching. You can see it on their face. They go back to some sort of memory. and they'll grin from ear to ear. So it
Yeah.
was obviously a car that people loved when it first came out.
I can dig that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
The most favorite car I ever
But the
owned
clock is
was
telling me we're crazy.
it's 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 not keeping the sync with the digital clock, eh?
Oh,
Yeah,
no,
yeah, because that's that digital thing. We're not in a true reality. I was
no,
just thinking
he's
though, if I had one of my favorite cars that I had of all time was a 1971 Grand Prix.
oh.
Um, and I loved that car. I mean, it had a 440 in it, four barrel. And anyway, how about you, Trina? What's your most favorite car?
Oh, it's torn between three, four actually, but my first car ever, which I loved, and I built it and fixed it up, and it was a 1974 Trans Am.
All right,
Hmm.
so did you have the Eagle
455.
on the hood?
No, it was custom actually. She took it off, and the
Okay.
girl who had it before me, she was a professional drag racer, and that was her
Hmm.
car.
Hmm.
So yeah, you
Nah,
ripped out the transmission and the engine and
Wow.
put the normal, because my dad's like, you'll kill yourself. He almost killed himself when he hit third gear. So yeah, he's like, nope, you're not getting this
And
car.
it was street legal?
No, it was not
It
street
was not
legal.
street legal. I
Yeah,
was gonna
no,
go,
when
I
it
was
came to
going
us, no, we
no.
had to modify
I'm
it.
going, I
Yeah,
don't think
we
so.
had to make it street legal.
I had a 68 Barracuda and
Oh, that's a fun car.
oh that was
Yeah,
I
yeah.
literally popped the tires, they
Oh,
were
wow.
burning out.
Yeah. They even made a song about that, Barracuda. Yeah.
They did.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So Jenny, how did you come to acquire your car?
This car was
It's a gift.
given from a guy who
Mhm.
tees. So it's been with him from it being new in 2001. So he's had it and loved it, and it's full of memories. And he's had a synchronistic lifestyle, and that he goes up to see the farmer friends that he has. And so it's been a real workhorse of a car. But I've been supplying him with teas and tonics and things. And he was coming to the point where he said he didn't want to drive anymore. He didn't feel he had the same spatial awareness or response time as he used to. He's 96. And so, but he was
Okay.
quite happy going around on his bike and scooter. So it was just sitting there in his driveway, and he didn't want to scrap it because it wouldn't get very for it right now anyway. And it just had so many memories, and it's still such a good workhorse. So he said, Jenny, please take it. So that's what I'm driving around in at the minute.
Beautiful, beautiful. The worst
Yeah,
car
so
I
it's
ever owned was my Porsche. I had a Boxer and loved
yeah,
it. It
my
was a
mom's
love-hate.
Porsche. Oh,
What's that,
yeah, her Porsche.
Witty?
My mom's Porsche wasn't nice at all. She had one for a short stint, but then she got a probe. It was just a Ford probe, it's called, and the lights come up and stuff. So it was a
Hmm.
similar shape to the Porsche, but it handled so much better.
Huh.
It was so much more of a car for so much less of a price.
Elderberry says that's a beautiful car, Elderberry. 72 Chevelle SS. Oh
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
See,
That
Yeah,
your
is a
car
beautiful
sounds
car.
so cool.
that's just fucking sweet. That's all I got to do. I mean, hello, JD. Good to see you. He said, almost got a three-speed one back in nine. I have to find out which. Oh, a Porsche 911. Yeah, the Boxer. I tell you, it was fine. I mean, but um, it seemed like there was always something going wrong with it, and literally to change the oil, they had to lift the engine up,
Yep. Yep.
and that was fine for a couple of times, but after like the third time, you yeah. Anyway, I was
The
so
damage.
thankful to get rid of that thing, but anyway,
Hmm.
Yeah.
I really
It's
enjoyed my
like
Lincoln Continental. I mean, um,
batteries, the stays in some of the cars underneath seats. And it's like you want to be able to get to the battery, if you need to jump start somebody, but they'll put
Yeah,
them underneath the seat.
that's
And it
stupid.
just doesn't, oh, it's so stupid. They just
You know,
want to
I
do
get the
something different.
engineers, they're trying to find room in the engine, but to put the battery underneath the seat, I mean, what?
It just makes all sorts of no sense at
Yeah.
all. There's been a couple of cars I've had like that, and I've been glad to see them off. You know, I like to be able
65
to get.
Mustang, 289, Deborah Sloan. Do you know Deborah? That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, I
No,
could
I just
totally
got
see
that
that.
sense that Colleen
Mustang.
says a 442. Yeah. You see,
Mhm.
cars, I mean, it's amazing, and I always thought it was interesting because saw those weird facts things, that there's not been one, but there's been quite a few of people who've been buried with their cars.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we
A
do
little
love them.
attached to the material realm, eh?
I could literally say this and I'm just speaking for myself, but there was a time where I preferred cars than ladies. And, you know,
That's a
um,
common man thing.
yeah, and I was fortunate.
Yeah.
I did a lot of marketing for NASCAR and many of the teams, and so and when I was in Nashville, picked up the NHRA. So it's like, yeah, you,
You know
you
what's funny, Wayne?
what's that, sweetie?
The men in my family were just like that. But when they got all the cars, because they owned wrecking yards, they
Oh
got all the
yeah,
cars. What
yeah,
then they just wanted the ladies. So,
yeah.
that all goes away and it goes back to the
Interact.
ladies.
I mean, I can remember
Happy.
being in the pits in the garage because we were media,
Yeah.
and it seems like the cars draw the chicks.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's
I
Yeah.
wouldn't be ashamed if it's an extra, you've already got extra points for me. It depends on what you like when you open your mouth. But as far as a car goes, I either like one with a bit of character, really bruised up,
Mhm.
but with a really strong engine, a nice old Subaru. But then but then there's a limit with me. I don't like the extreme version of cars that are just designed for designers' sake
mm,
that don't make sense. They don't look beastly. They don't look measly. They're just like, yeah. But they're very expensive cars.
there's a
That for
lot of
me,
that.
you've already lost half a point or more. So there's a range of cars
So,
that
Jenny,
I
do you
like.
have that book? I mean, I'm pretty sure there's probably some guys out there that would like to have your point scoring book. How you can make up points, what gets you deducted points. I think that's kind of cool.
We all
Maybe a
have
Yeah,
the book,
bestseller,
Wayne. We all
huh?
have the book. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess, and it's one of those things that, mother passed down to daughter, and then, because the guys are always looking for it. It's like, where's this
yeah.
freaking
Maybe
book?
yeah, mine would be so eclectic, so I don't know when I'd get it finished, because I changed my mind quite a bit.
We're
But
like
no,
the wind. We shift,
Yeah,
we
it's
do have
evolve.
categories, though, don't we, Trina? I think when you get in wiser as well, when you move up in years, it's much easier to not be swayed outside of those certain categories as well. Like you say, Wayne, there's other things in your life that you found out about yourself that you're not so dependent on finding a partner. So in a way that makes it easier to find the right person because you're not just looking for any person, but at the same time it makes it harder for people to get in because their name's not on the door.
Mhm.
yeah. I
Mhm.
mean, today, personally, we have our cars, but it doesn't interest me at all. I'd rather read something, philosophical or what have you.
Mhm.
It's just,
Yeah,
It's funny
fantasize
right now.
me.
I'm battling. I have a 1988 Suzuki Samurai, and it is a little bucket of fun.
I
But
remember you
you
came
have
out.
to, huh?
You came when you came out here to visit me, and you were heading out to Indiana, right? You were driving that.
Oh no, that was an Edge.
Oh, okay.
My Samurai looks like a little baby Jeep. It's this little tiny little
I
baby
know what
Jeep.
they look like. Yeah, they are
Yeah,
that tiny
yeah,
thing. Yeah.
yeah. And I just
Yeah.
love it. And I'm like, oh, I just want to get rid of it because I'm like, it just takes up a lot of room. I don't drive it that much, but I'm like, I'm struggling. I really like that little truck. It's the same
Oh,
thing Jenny says too. Everybody looks at that car. They're not looking at you. They're looking at the Suzuki. Yep.
yeah, there's somewhere in their life that they've got something real special. It's
It is, and I don't know why, but everybody wants these things because they get great gas mileage. They can go anywhere. They're buckets of fun. And every time I go and get gas, somebody gives me a business card. I'll buy that cash from you right now. Just call me.
well, that's you know what this car is a bit of a rust bucket. It's being well used, well loved. You know, it's like a old shoe, worn a lot. But
Mhm.
the time that it is, and who, like Wayne said, whichever designers were just there at that point and perfected that model outside of whatever else was available at that time. Apparently, all of the taxi drivers used to have them because they were such big engines, but they didn't use too much diesel. They were so good on diesel, and that's still true to this day with this one. So there's a
Mhm.
few people said, mind if you ever get rid of that because you can't buy them secondhand.
Yeah.
Either they've or people are holding on to them. So
Yep.
it is a phenomenon. The car's worth very little at all, but to some people, it's worth, like you say, can I leave my number with you just in
Well,
case you
yeah.
get rid?
They offer me a lot of money, way over the book price, way over. They're like, I will pay you this much right now for this truck. And I was like, I'm just not ready to let her go yet. It's so much fun. And like I said, the gas mileage, it's just incredible. And yeah, I do have a roll bar. First thing I had to install when I bought it because they had already did something to it, so it was gone. So I do have a roll bar, but I've never rolled it. I put extenders on it. Fun, 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 fun.
Oh, Katrina,
Well,
looks so cool.
I'll just have to. You see, I like my heated and cooled seats, and I like the um. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like my
Yeah.
comfort, baby.
I
Yeah.
do, and it's got to
That
have
was
a.
the one I brought to your house, Wayne. It's got the heated
Yeah,
and the cool. Yeah, it's got all the bells and
yeah.
whistles. And for long distance, oh, you are absolutely right. I would love, yeah. Mm-hmm. But the
Yeah,
old
because
stuff is fun.
Yes.
I mean, back windows decide which one wants to work. They never work simultaneously,
Right?
for whatever reason. So
Yeah.
that, comfort is lovely. I got
Yeah.
into a brand new car the other day and drove it around for a bit, and it was just a generic, but it was brand new, and I thought, yeah, there's bonuses and minuses though, isn't there? But rust bucket's great, and I can do gardening with it. I can go to the skip run and get rid of rubbish in it, go to the horses and not care about what mud goes in it. But it was lovely to just drive something that was heating the sphincter and
Yeah.
massaging the back.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. Listen. I'll admit it. We have a rather new enclave, and it's fucking fantastic. That's all I can say.
Mhm.
I'll
You
drive you
know,
anywhere.
like that car a lot. Lynn
Yep.
has she has a lacrosse. So anyway. Well, ladies, hello everyone in the chat room, and seeing the chat room going by. There's John and Gilbert. How you doing? Bonnie, Paul, Joe, Susie Q. Good to see you. Clever Gypsy. Looks every time we talk about things of the past, people are yeah, I love it. There's Mr. Floyd.
Yeah.
How are you doing? And Stephanie Marie, Joe Mack, Lynn. Good to see you. Mary Wins. Yeah,
It's like
Angela.
everybody can relate to the favorite car stuff from
Yeah,
when you
they
were growing
can.
up. Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody's got these great stories. I had one of those. I had one of these. So awesome.
You know how many people lost their virginity in their car?
Probably a lot.
Probably more than what you would think.
Yeah.
And, I know that held true, particularly, back in the day. I know we're dating ourselves here, but, you know, the 50s really, well, actually, I can say the 40s, those people had a lot of sex in their car. But yeah,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, you couldn't bring them home.
All the seats were leather. Nobody wanted fabric.
Back in
You
the
said, "Oh, well,
day,
a car was the only
uh,
place you had. That was your option." Yeah.
we had this, I've told the story of Good Times van. We had the series called The Tunnel of Love. This
Mhm.
this was back in 72 and 73. Uh, and we had a bumper sticker we put on that. The bumper sticker said, "Don't laugh, your daughter may have been in here too."
Yep.
I
Uh,
love that.
mhm,
You
mhm.
know, we got pulled
Yeah.
over so many freaking fucking times, and every freaking time, and because we didn't have anything in there, the cops were always, well, I sure hope the hell my daughter ain't in there. And you wanted to be a smart ass and say, well, she was,
You
but
already
you
was,
don't
right.
do that. And back in the day,
Right,
they'd kick your
is.
ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had to adjust to a new paradigm.
Yeah, absolutely. They would have taken you to jail. They beat you with that billy club till you
Oh
couldn't breathe.
man,
Yeah. Yeah.
it and having the long hair, it's you look back, but that was a
We're
fact.
just looking for trouble.
Yeah, I mean, and I had a lot of friends that got the crap beat out of them by the cops,
Yeah.
and
My dad too. Oh my gosh, Wayne, they disassembled his car on the side of the road. They did.
uh,
They're like, that'll keep you off the road for at least a week. Yeah, they took
I
his
w-
car apart. Hmm.
I hitchhiked across the United States, and we got really stoned by a serviceman that picked us up right outside San Antonio, and we were heading to LA. And so Interstate 10 straight through, right? Well, we got so stoned, or he got so stoned. I think it was a combination of both. He took, there was an exit there called Alternate 1090, old US Highway 90 that took you down to Del Rio, right down to the Mexican border. Long story short, I had this cowboy hat that I used to wear and had a really long ponytail. This kid, and that's all I could say. He was in his late teens. You know, we were putting our backpacks in, and he says, "Well, how much are you going to pay me?" And we said, "Dude, that's why we're hitchhiking," you know. And he was just a redneck. I mean, he looked at me and he says, "When's the last time you seen a barber?"
Yeah,
And yeah, and then when there was words exchanged, so he does a Yui right in the middle of this highway, and he says, "I'll be back with my friends." That's when you begin to panic,
yeah.
because you start seeing, this deliverance scenario unfolding before your eyes, and you're going, "Oh shit," yeah. That was one weird day, because the next ride we got was from a elderly couple. Now, understand, we're just in our teens, late teens, but they looked really old, and seriously, they were looking to pick up young guys to have coitus with his wife. And I looked over at
Oh, you've lived.
James and I said, "Are you freaking serious? Are you serious? I mean, we're just trying to get the hell down the road, and then you have this situation." But anyway, I digress. Totally
It's like a
sucked.
microcosm experiment, isn't it, of what society is? You try and hitchhike down a certain road and see what the society that meets you expects back. And I mean that's a crazy, in that one little stretch of
Oh,
traffic managed to
and
attract.
it just
Stone
continued.
get angry off. So I don't know what kind of psyche he had to be stoned and get that angry as well. The combination does not make sense. And then the the old couple, I mean, Wayne,
Oh, it got weirder.
you've lived.
We got picked up by a sheep farmer, in which that was freaking cool. All right, it's just
You
what
got
it is.
reputation.
So he drops us off on the outskirts of Del Rio, Texas. Now, Del Rio, Texas, back in 1972 was not a real happening place at the moment. And we get into this flea bag motel. I mean, seriously, there were lizards on the inside walls.
Wow.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. I mean, this is what we're talking about. When we got up the next morning, there was a city cop out there. And the cop come up and told us, he said, there's no hitchhiking, no loitering in our city. And he says, just to make sure that you two don't break any laws here, I'm going to follow you as you walk yourself out of town, which
Walked
was
out
a
of town.
good 2, 3 miles.
I think that old lady's gone and snitched on you because you wouldn't please her.
Anyway,
Gone into the police officers, whatever, cabinet and with a Zimmer and said, I've got a complaint. There's a
yeah.
guy who I thought would do anything because he has a ponytail and he refused. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
he snitched.
So, ladies, how have y'all been? I mean, things are rapidly changing in the world. I
Yeah.
swear I keep on having to remind myself it's all right. This is how things are supposed to be unfolding. But I don't
Hmm.
know about y'all, but there is some crazy stuff, and it's reality. That's what's so weird about it.
Yeah, I love how you're talking about the serpent again, because I really do. I think this is
Important.
it is one of the most important things that we need to look at. So it's yeah, the mystery of the serpent and what does it mean to be blended with serpent. These
Yeah.
are all very important things. And the dragon, and what is the dragon, and what has the dragon done to us as a species? How has it affected us through mythology? I mean, there's a lot to all of this. So I love that you have, danced upon that topic again.
That video yesterday, it exceeded 5,000 views, which is unusual because, you typically don't get those type of views, but it triggered something.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it
Yes.
and it was
I
very
think
obvious if
people
you look.
have a remembrance, Wayne, and I keep seeing, you always look at the serpent on the pole. There's two serpents. We've got two different serpents working here. We've got the organic divine part of it, and then we've got the part that replicates and copies and mimics. So it's you look at this bifurcation that's happening between more organic and integrating with technology. And you're seeing this is all serpent based technology and information, and it's mimicking the internal technology that we already have. So it's going to be unique to watch the ones that want to go for the, getting aid to their bodies, and those who start to evolve organically through their bodies. And you're going to see those expressed in very different ways. The only thing I'm concerned a little bit about is that when you plug the body into an artificial stimulus to produce an effect, the body won't no longer produce that effect anymore because it knows it doesn't need to. So I'm seeing a large atrophy that's going
That's
to come
true.
with a lot of this stuff. Hmm.
That's true with vitamins and minerals, Trina, which is why when I give people tea charts, clients that come and give them like tea charts or like even just dietary advice, just as not as a professional, but what I know. I'll always say to them, and with the Yam Magic cream that I make for the hormonal balance, asking people to take a break from it for a week in the month because the body needs that so it doesn't get lazy. If you take in the exact same ingredients in the exact same way, i.e., through the exact same vegetables or fruits in the same routine each day, your body starts to predict it and stops making what it would normally make, say, on a normal day. If you missed breakfast that day, it would work a bit harder, to conserve energy. It actually stops doing that. And the bowel in particular responds in a biofeedback way that way, in that if you repeat something too much in the same way each day, your bowel will stop doing the work to meet those nutrients.
Hmm.
It will stop. So you can take in the same nutrients we have to each day, but we have to do it through different modems and different times and different amounts for the
Hmm.
body to be really truly responsive and uptake what you're giving it. That's
Yeah,
so
and
true.
great. How do we do a great reset? Always, it's fasting. You cut everything
Yeah,
off, and that's what you do to reset the body. And I think that
yeah,
this is a large part of what we're missing too with dealing with this big change that we're going through. We've gotten so connected to our lifestyles and our technologies and our conveniences. And I think that's also a thing we've got to learn and remember. It's like we have to cut everything off once in a while to fully reset. That means all the way from the food to the tech to the, artificial light. Just reconnect back to your surroundings, the natural technology that's working here alongside the technologies that we see with, the electrical systems. So these are two different technologies working hand in hand together. And I'm seeing a big shift with pick your plane, because you're going to need to hold on to that, whichever one you choose.
and again, Trina, what you've just said there, pick your plane, pick your path, consciousness, the pathway that you're using to create a tomorrow and a future going forward. What you are manifesting is so important right now, in particular going forward for the next 19 years ish. And what I'm seeing on one hand is just like you say, repeat, play, rewind, repeat, play, rewind. On the stage, I'm seeing the exact same scripts being repeated,
Me too.
and those scripts being used to go forward in a certain way, and similar people being taken up by that and it not doing them too much good. But then on the other side of it, there's these people who are saying disconnect in order to reconnect, in that, really trying to further and further, day by day, disconnect from that's just a repetitive cycle that isn't organic. It's just being put in place, and people really trying to spiral into their own way of thinking, of being, and releasing each day more and more of the let go to give in, to gain more, and contract in order to expand, disconnect in order to reconnect. And this side is just on a spin cycle. That's what I feel like. It's one plate that's being spun by a mated hand, so to speak, and the other is individuals holding their plates and sort of figuring out the right speed, even because time is not, we're learning on this side holding this plate, we're learning that the time frames that we've been hell bent and conditioned to be so focused in on, that actually aren't with our natural rhythm. There's lots of people noticing, like you said at the start of the show, Wayne, like my car clock, like Trina said in the past, the days are shorter, or they're being mimicked to be shorter. But
Mhm.
actually, that's a more natural rhythm. It's because, it's so there's two very definite paths that are emerging for me as I look at.
It's so powerful too, because with this quantum physics, we're starting to learn about the power of the observer. And I was looking at this a lot lately, and with all of the technology and the TV and all of these things that this generation has grown up with to be, quote unquote normal, it's turned us into full-blown observers, because instead of creating, we're observing. So instead of reading a book and having to utilize the imagination to create the pictures, we're watching TV screens creating the pictures. So we're losing the ability to actually create, because we're not utilizing it anymore. We're being entertained. And what is the cost going to be of that?
Oh, immense. And Theo, just as you say that, Trina has been so intuitive today, because it's been his birthday weekend and we've made it so fun. Can't stand the thought of getting in a bath. It's a real rigmarole, but then you get him in the bath and you can't get him out of the bath because he ends up having fun in the bath. So it's the shower bit at the start that he doesn't like, before I run the bath in for him to sit and soak and play in. So we figured that out. But he was in the bath the other to be out and have some game time before it was wind down for bedtime. But he got a simple bath fizzer, and he was like, I hope there's a little dinosaur inside, because it was a dinosaur egg. And of course, it did fizz away, and there was this little dinosaur. And he played for an hour in that bath, just topping it up. And I came in twice or thrice to say, "You ready to come out? Do you want to jump out?" And he just had a flannel and this tiny little dinosaur squidgy thing out that had fizzed away. And he'd said, "No, no, look, Mum, this is the big whale, and this is the baby dino. And look," and he'd said, "I'm so immersed in my imagination right now, I just can't get out." And I thought, oh, hallelujah, stay in there all you like, because
Think about it too. He's in the water, the connection.
yeah,
Most of us, a lot of us, many don't realize and many have realized, but if you're feeling disconnected, try water. Water is magical to reconnect you
mm.
to soul and spirit.
If you've got somebody with you, get a sheet. We used to do this in the church, and it's actually a much more ancient practice of rejuvenation and revitalization. But get a sheet, get your partner who's with you to swaddle you in that sheet and guide you into the bath, being in the water, swaddled like a baby, cocooned in is such a powerful ritual to do to feel that reconnection. You can travel back to the womb so easily that way. You can travel all the way through your life and much more ancient lives by
You know what?
swaddling inside the water.
I do a modality of healing, interesting enough. And literally, I put people in water and it's called cranial sacral therapy, but we do it in the water. And you literally start to connect the energy centers in the body. And it's interesting because we've been talking about the serpent. This is the most common thing I witness when people start to, we call it unwind. They literally start to release all of their spinal trauma into the water, and their body starts to move like a serpent. And they start to wind and twist, and then they open up and they do all this stuff underneath the water, and they can stay under there for a long time. And then they come up when they need to, and they take a deep breath, and then they roll back in. It's the most beautiful modalities of healing I'd witnessed because the body can release and move and twist the way it needs to because it has no boundaries when it's in the water. It's an amazing thing. Amazing.
Yeah, I just loved that he was doing that. So I mean, not doesn't do it. It was just that it was really, really doing it. He was really in his imagination. It was he plays and but you'll be ready to jump out after a short while. But he was just so in it that it was just so beautiful to see, in all of his nakedness.
Yeah, we said so beautiful at the same exact time. I was like, that's so beautiful.
So beautiful because you can just see his sweet little body and his sweet little face, and it was. But
Dinosaurs.
But that's so difficult to get. Like I've got friends who have now got toddlers, and I think, wow, that because they've all got a screen at a really young age. They've got some sort of screen. A lot of them, there was screen limit. It's almost impossible for them not to have because the schools are all using it now in primary school as well. So it's it's very difficult for parents to allow children to have that imagination space. Because if a kid hasn't got a screen, eventually they will start to use their imagination and go into a different world just with a sheet or, with a hanger. You pretend anything. But it's lost a lot. You don't see it very much,
Yeah.
Yeah,
which
I
is
would have to
strange.
say, I think maybe it's just my perspective, but the generations today, the young kids, the children, they really lack imagination. Their imagination is content to the Black Mirror device.
That's what
And
I see. Yeah.
yeah, we didn't have that growing up. I grew up
Mm-mm.
on a farm and, we didn't wear shoes from May to September. You just didn't. And
Yeah.
if we were going to play, we were going to play climbing the mulberry tree or going next door to our neighbors, they had these mulberry trees and then had these natural, um, they're like wild grapevines, and they would cover the canopy. And we're talking 30 feet off the ground. As kids, we would get up there and literally climb through that canopy and jump off the canopy into where you see a dip. And but that was that's where our imagination took us. That's all we had.
Yeah.
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 Yes, I mean,
And it,
we weren't exposed to this the way these younger people are being exposed to it. And I am starting to see the difference in the ability for them to have spontaneous thought, imagination,
Yeah,
creativity.
it's the
It,
AI, it's taken over.
it just seems like when you are so much into an observation mode rather than a creation mode, I'm seeing a lot of the primal abilities that we hold getting a lot duller with them. Like they can't self-soothe as easily. They have a hard time communicating with people because they don't know how to deal with the social signals and all the emotions that go with it. See, they're missing the emotional part. That's creation, that's interaction with other humans. It creates an emotional bond. And this is what we're missing with screen time and artificial stuff. It's not that emotional bond. And the emotional bond is our link to the organic matrix. It's through emotion.
It's interesting. We were talking about trees and look at the response, and people know what I'm talking about. It's like,
Yeah.
mulberry trees, by the way, we didn't have a lot of food. And so the mulberries, when they were coming into season, yeah, but it, it's like today, Lynn had her grandson is 4, yeah,
Mm.
turned 5, I think, but he is already in the system. I mean, he knows how to work the PlayStation, knows how
Mhm.
to work it extremely well. They're using immersive technology now, introducing it at the kindergarten level. And I keep projecting forward and I'm thinking, so this is teaching the human mind instead of relying on the nature that you're interfacing with this machine. And
for parents who've been brought up as well in
it's
age
normal
of,
for them. Yeah.
it's daunting for them to say to a school system that's doing it countrywide and in the UK, where you
Oh,
guys
yeah.
are, that it's so difficult for parents to go. It's not always about lazy parenting, but to go up when you are facing your child to go up against any huge system that has colorful lights, flicker rates that absolutely draw you in and keep you in, storylines that you could never dream up, magic and all of these things. And the school are saying it's okay. But it's very difficult for parents individually or collectively to say, just because whoever's sponsoring you is saying it's okay, just whoever's building this education curriculum is saying it's okay. Actually, we can argue it's not. Um, but so it's a really difficult situation to be in for parents. It really is, and it's really difficult for kids. If I was to refuse, say Will and to an extent Theo, screens in school, basically 90% of their workload wouldn't be able to be done because they're not marking paper now under the Green Deal.
I mean, that's the way to suck the kids right in. So we're going to save the planet, but we're going to get your mind, who knows, your soul, maybe. It's that nefarious. It's like I
Yeah.
said, the title, our talking points, is adjusting to new paradigms. And there are some new paradigms. I mean, I look at
Yeah.
how because my background is marketing and sales, and that's how I came up through the corporate ladder. And I worked, with many of the major ad agencies. And so you have that prime demographic, which is, the 18 to 35 age group. And that's the sweet spot. And I look now and realize that that sweet spot is so far behind me now. And the approaches to the messages of how they're messaging to that demographic group, it's no longer what we had. They're marketing to them and it's in a digital fashion.
Yeah, yeah.
It's yeah.
Yeah, I remember having a few jobs as a marketer, different gigs, but some of the daytime gigs were, being outside of big department stores if they were having a special, the expensive pans and pots and pans that are
And by the
sold,
way,
and
Jenny, not to cut you off, but they don't even have that anymore. The malls are disappearing. The
oh,
big box. I
oh,
mean, yeah, go ahead, sweetie.
well, that it was so enjoyable because it was fun. It was a really easy gig to do because you didn't particularly have any sales targets that you had to do. So it was just a case of talking to interesting people and making it look fun. And in that, with your team, you had a lot of fun. But none of that's there now. Even kids who are going out to the shops on because there's not the money in it anymore of the tactile physical stuff because everybody just wants a QR code. They don't want to hold a leaflet. They just want a QR code and they don't want to talk to you about what might be on that invisible leaflet because it's a QR code. They just want to walk away with that and whatever discount it comes with. So it's a real it, things like that bond people more than we realize and more than we give credit for. The young people that are going to college and paying their way through, or people with a second job, doing that kind of marketing. Uh, we're a bit of a glue in society. When I was growing up, you saw the makeup ladies, you saw the Tupperwares, you saw different people from all different walks of life there, and the job was to talk. You couldn't make a living in the UK being a marketeer in that fashion because nobody's going to stop and speak to you for any length of time. So you're not gonna make an impact, so it's not worth being paid to do that anymore. So the market demands is we're going into the ethereal space with Aquarius. We're going into the space that many Nephil predicted and did predictive spell work by saying you'll own nothing and be happy. Everything is in the efferable, money is digital. There's a removing of the physical, there's a removing of the labor that gets you to that physical, and it's too quick. Just like the internet's been pushed too quick without too much preparation or education around it of what it could be used for, what it has been used for. This is the same. These gaps in society where the marketers aren't out, people aren't going to the shops. I think we're going to feel that in another 10 years' time. I really
I
do,
think we're
like Trina
already
said.
feeling it. I mean, I just look back, I'm just so thankful I came into this realm when I did. I mean, I remember back in the day, we had a benchmark quota each month and it was like $1 million that you had to hit. But I got reprimanded one time by the uh, director of marketing. We were given expense counts. And if you didn't, if you weren't spending money and taking the client out to lunch or the strip clubs, the Japanese love strip clubs, and we were in videos, so anyway, uh, because I thought I was doing a pretty good job closing sales and not having to spend, on my expense account. I was told with no uncertainty in it, and I remembered and it's followed me all the rest of my life. If you're not spending it, then you're not doing your job. And those are
Yeah.
over. I mean, I remember the martini lunches. I mean, that really happened, you know? Anyway.
It's mandatory. It's
Yeah,
expected.
yeah. I mean, I
Mhm.
took clients, to baseball games and, that's the only the reason why I got into golf. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
could sign a really big deal on just playing 18 holes.
I've seen more millionaires become billionaires on a golf
Yes,
course than
it's
anywhere
true.
else.
There's a lot of truth to that.
I know there is.
A
The
lot of
Masons love
truth.
it, yeah. The Masons love the golf course. I've had quite a few relatives over the years now, in-laws
Yeah.
who have been members of lodges and whatnot, and they all go to the golf course. And nothing is spoken off the golf course. It's very much like you go onto the
Oh,
field. What stays on is what is said on the field stays on the field. You don't speak of it outside of that. But golf courses here are huge for like
oh,
corporate and
yeah.
Masonic meetings.
I love those days. They were, but I wouldn't trade it for the knowledge that someone asked me, if that kind of draws an appeal. And I said, no, I've really come to cherish knowledge.
Me too.
Yeah.
Different ideas. I mean, someone said like this is the Chinese year of the wood snake. And, and and it's pulling our conversation back into the snake. I mean, you look at the human body, we're more reptilian than we are simian. But yet we have simian DNA within ours, but it's all back to this snake. And yesterday, I got y'all to, if you haven't read some of the comments. We went over 100 comments yesterday that this has really got people to thinking if there is a physical being that has manifested that calls itself Satan, and it has this ability to transcend to the firmament, and that's where I really think that they travel. It's not into the ethereal; it's really the firmament. Um, and if it's dictating the progress of mankind, well, it doesn't take a genius to look. I mean, you can say that the way mankind is going right now, we need to do a change. If we don't, it's going to be catastrophic.
Yes.
So while we got time here, it's curious for the two because I respect y'all's. So what do you make of the fact that you have, in this case, mostly men? I'm sure there may be, but most of these conclaves are male. But you have these religious individuals. They've attained a certain office, certain, um, power, that they actually believe there is a physical devil. I mean, do you, in your wildest imaginations, do you see an actual demigod or deity taking physical form?
Yes.
I
Excellent.
think there's the ability to do that by certain essences, but any one being, I would say no. I've seeked it, and it's never been able to make itself apparent to me. And I know it was a work of fiction. I know that it was a work, so I think they've made it real enough that there's energies like this are demonic when they very might well not be. It might just be their perception of them. I think the same thing is that this that can enter in and squeeze in like squeezing into an outfit into that label. But any one being is for me it's work of fiction. It's the name is being used to channel up things, I think, more so within other people that are willing to listen to those types of messaging
So what do you think of
spaces,
men that are in
about.
power, religiously and politically that believe that? I mean, you think about it, and here's an idea.
I think uh, I think it's like any of the other secret societies that we know of, in that there are such knowledgeable people that I know of, like even in the lodges, but I look at them and there's blind spots. There's huge blind spots to their knowing, and there's certain things that they've just been told. And because a certain person of a certain, character reference told them, they have like they're quite starstruck by that within these secret societies, from my experience anyway. And men in particular can get very starstruck by other men within these societies who are perceived to be above them. And so I think it's a lot of very few at the top knowing it's a work of fiction, and a lot at the bottom would stand by their life to say, no, this is true, this is real. They believe it to be true because they trust the source that told them it was true. That's more my take on it.
Twilight Mist is really going on the lines that, so let me interject this. So one of the things that I learned in my Bible studies was that these Hebrews, they had an understanding, a magic. They had the ability, and I think that when Moses came out of Pharaoh's inner circle, he brought this knowledge with him as well. My point is, what if there is the ability to create a golem of such a
Yes.
nature
Yes.
that
That's
it
how I think it can appear. That,
would fit the move in
yeah.
perfectly?
That's how I think it can appear as an individualized essence. It could never be one thing, but it can appear that way if
Yeah.
it takes on a human vessel, has a strong enough energy of that energy. It's going to appear that that is what we're looking at, and it in essence will be what we're looking
Yeah.
at. And then, like you said, the golem, that's a physical manifestation, shoving an energy into a clay vessel. But you also, too, we have the egregore. The thought
Well,
form is,
that would be exactly the next thing, you know.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
and that, well, I think that's first. The egregore to me would
Yeah.
be first, which
Then
would be
into
the
the body.
egg
And
of
Yeah.
creation. Yes, the egg of
And then
creation.
if you think of Satan, it's everything that they tell you is wrong with a human that is actually quite natural to be a human in
it
this
does
world.
seem that way. But there
Passion
are
and
people
yeah,
who, and listen, I respect and I thank you for the comments. There were a couple. There are people who are, and I was there, that simply believe that this thing, Satan, is an actual entity. You know,
You know,
that,
it's just like in the Bible, Wayne, it says, "Get behind me, Satan."
yeah, the famous
I
line
think
there in Matthew.
it's an energy of we're fighting right now. It's an
Yeah.
energy of some type of a deception, some type of feeling of a theft, or it's something like that.
And
So
you
this,
know, Trina, can I just add on to that? They
yeah,
don't read what Jesus had to say about 3 verses prior to that. Because Jesus looked at Peter and said, "Get thee behind me, Satan."
yeah.
yes,
I
He
yes,
was
mean,
that's
so
what
is the founder of the Christian church, Peter, actually Satan?
it looks like that
Ain't
could
that
be
special?
a way. That could be a possibility.
I mean, come on. I mean, that's what he said. He
I
called Peter.
know.
And then he
It's what
goes and says that upon you, I'm going to build, my escalea, my church, and I'm going,
upon this rock I shall build my church.
hmm.
Yeah, right?
that
Right. Oh, yeah.
this
See,
huge
so that's where my brain goes with the whole,
Yeah,
can it be one? Yeah, it can be if you decide to take that energy on. You can become that. Oh, I've seen
it's
demons.
true.
I've
It's
seen them
true.
take over children. I've seen them take over old people. I mean, they're not nice. So with that, that's a real Satan in my world. I mean, I would never be able to call it anything other because it's taken over a body that hasn't have the ability to fight for itself, and that's a messed up situation on its own.
They say
So
that if you've ever
yeah,
had a fit of rage, then you've
uh-huh.
been possessed. You know what you have been physically, spiritually possessed if you're in a fit of rage.
I have seen that.
Oh,
different.
People's
It's
boy.
eyes
different when you
change
go into
and
the high courts of heavens and petitioning righteous rage, is it? It's so
Well,
ridiculous.
that's another whole debate right there, topic. So what? You got a
And I
righteous
think
rage, and then you got what?
well,
The devil rage.
Wayne, I can
Even the
totally see that.
quotations from the Bible, it's been so disfigured. People
Yes,
don't read this that are standing beside it. Originally, it is a description of stars, geometry, alchemy, gold, frankincense, and myrrh doing certain things to the body it's a herbal handbook before these people who what were they, kings who wanted to continue to rule people, and continue to be able to use the powerful geometry and alchemy magic in the background while getting everybody else to play pretend with words that they've literally distorted so much they hardly even reflect the truth. So that again, it's for the birds really that it's real.
So yeah, and we did a couple of years ago, we did the whole egregore study, and yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And Adam, that's technically how the Sumerians looked at the atoms that they were creating, that it wasn't until it was filled with something that it actually became animated,
yes,
physical body. Yeah.
yes,
Like, okay.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. It said they breathed in soul.
That's what it says.
That's
Second
what it
Genesis
said.
2:9, something right around there. But the thing about it is, and this is where it gets all interesting in these Abrahamic belief systems, the woman did not have God breathe into her a living soul.
She already was one.
Yep.
Bingo.
Well, you know what I've been thinking about a lot, Wayne,
You
and I know
heretic.
this is going off in a whole different realm, but what if actually when the serpent entered into the garden, I wonder if that was when Adam actually was procreating with one of the female Naga species. And
Well, it
she
would be
He
created
said he had
her.
metaphorical and
coitus with them
so
all. I mean,
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So then, and she would have been the giver of birth for the first like human serpent breed blended creation on this earth. And that
I'm
would have been
convinced that
Nephilim.
in one of these stories, whether you want to take it the flood, whatever it is, these aliens came in and they had to do a reset with our DNA, because I believe, like you, Trina,
Yes,
I believe that there roam the earth half human, half animals
I
of
do
a
too.
myriad, a different kind.
I do too. I
Yeah.
really think that's very, very, I see that from when I went into a past life regression in Atlantis. The Chimera programs were completely normalized.
Yeah,
Like they were the chimeras running around. Nobody was shocked. I mean, it was socially completely normalized in the place where I was in that vision of my past memory, whatever. So that
yeah,
that was very interesting to me that I was creating those and they were everywhere and there were all different kinds and it was like the CRISPR technology where you could pick what you want to be and we would make it and you'd shove your consciousness in it. And that's what they want to do by 2045.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
around the corner.
This is a great book. In fact, we may go and revisit this, because in the Colburn Bible, the bronze books,
Hmm.
that's what man was. Man was an animal.
It makes sense to me.
Yeah. We were,
It does make, and the cultures around the world that literally with totems of animals. I've got tarot cards. So is Nina.
yeah,
A of the animal, spirit animal this, spirit animal that. Why? Because there's certain times we want to sprint like a cheetah if we're running after a toddler that's going towards a road. You channel a cheetah and it
Yeah.
makes sense to us and it resonates because we are of so many mixed DNAs. There's only a fraction difference between any one thing DNA wise here anyway,
Yeah.
especially for us and animals. So it makes sense that we're revisiting that and you see again the constricting systems of religion in the West and the political systems in the West have made it so that children started to, in a very unhealthy way in the West, pretend to be animals. And they went through this whole phase of like furries that became quite dangerous. Whereas actually, if they'd just been allowed, instead of religion calling it witchcraft, if people were dancing with animal, you know, things like
It's
that, which
true.
I find quite acceptable. Instead of them saying, oh, it's witchcraft, get it out. Now we've got children desperately resonating with this dormant DNA and active DNA that actually built them. So that they're putting tails on themselves. And because they don't know that they're allowed to channel a cheetah anymore, just for the sake of channeling a cheetah. And so where they've constricted us, they've made us weird again. And so instead of just letting us resonate with those animal energies that we obviously do resonate with, they speak to us. But religion, again, tried to cut that out. And we've had a re-emergence of it now for the last few years in a very unhealthy way in the youth and in some adults.
Yeah,
So,
I'm
Ginger
learning.
Grin,
Huh?
Ginger Grin
the
said half animal, half angel.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I've always seen is we were bringing in a spirit into the soul of the nature construct. So the wisdom of nature merging with the spiritual realms. And I see that that was the purpose of it. And then they always told me, they said the graduation is that we will create an earth angel. It will be a spiritual being that can exist in a human form, which is part of the animal kingdom, and have dominion over it, meaning control the emotions to only utilize for good, not for harm, but to be a guardian and to be, powerful, a powerful being on this planet.
I know this, and because I'm going into the second year, but when the deer first started coming up, I started trying to make mental connection to them, and it's taken time, but now where we had one, we now have eight. And it's quite they can sense you. And we've done an experiment here because downstairs we have these French doors that we can see. They would come up, and then I would start thinking, just speaking favor over them is what I was doing.
Mhm.
And Lynn and was sitting over here with another person, and those deer, each one of them picked up their eyes immediately, and then they turned looking exactly where I was behind the door and the blinds.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
auric
And
feeling.
that is the greatest proof. Those tests and trying those different things, that is your greatest proof of how we are connected to this divine matrix of
Mm-hmm.
nature. And that's
Yeah.
the divine matrix. And we're getting ready to be put into the meta universe, which is a
Yeah.
new overlay going over the current artificial matrix. So we've got multiple matrices existing, and we're getting ready to install a brand new one. And I think this is the whole thing that we're really looking at right now. And I was looking at too, what's the difference between the serpent artificial constructs and the more natural constructs? And it was kind of cool. They were showing me that the natural is more feminine based, it's more compassionate, nurturing, loving. It creates through emotion. That's what activates her web. Natural medicine, imagination, creativity, and she's a projector. And then the serpent, that's more of the technological, is going to be get related to pharmakia. It's going to be more mental. It's going to be more about what they're controlling goes in the mind. It's about what you see. It's about replicating, and it's about mirrors, and it's becoming the observer only. And it's through the use of the all-seeing eye. So I thought that was kind of interesting when I was looking at the
Yeah.
differences.
Well, ladies, we've really gone over. So, but
Sorry.
it's what we do here, and but yeah, I see Gaia, and you can talk to the animals. What I
Yeah.
found out about the animals is that for instance, Bentley, which is the most lovable dog in the world, we had to have some plumbers over here yesterday, and boy, he didn't like one of them. And I told Lynn later, I said, don't know what it is, but there was something about him that Bentley could sense. And I said, I had no doubt, I bet you that this guy was carrying hitchhikers. In other words, entities.
Yeah, on the shoulder, yeah.
Yeah. All
Yes.
right, everybody. God, I
Mm.
love this. This is why we keep doing it.
Yeah.
Because it's fun. Well, ladies, thank you again. And I just do love you both. And,
Well, yeah.
these are just absolutely, we'll look back on these decades ahead. We'll look back on this time and realize how truly favored and gifted we were to be able to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and to have each other doing it, it's amazing. It's such a bliss right
Yeah.
now because so many people haven't got it, or if they have got it, it's in very argumentative ways. I'm noticing, they're creating
Hmm.
groups, they're creating spaces, and they're arguing about the same things that I heard the churches going on about decades earlier. Or the same, they're
It never
going round and round.
stops.
Yeah, but where there's healthy debate and discussion and flow, it's not as easily found. It's to be found, but not as easily found. So having that right now is priceless when we look at value, and that's the biggest shift of a paradigm right now, I think, for a lot of people. Where does your value truly lie? What do you place value on? What is valuable? And so when a lot of what we've coveted is disappearing or becoming difficult to attain, uh, we're reestablishing value lines, and this type of thing, it should be, for me anyway, it's right up there on the value and the wealth, you know, column, because you can't find it very easily right now.
Yeah.
Authentication.
Tom,
All right.
you're reading my mind. That is the exact word that was going through my mind over and over authentic, being authentic.
But
I can't believe
yeah,
you said that. I literally, wow.
Ah,
I
That was
see you.
powerful
Thank
mind melt.
got you, girl. That's all I got to say.
Good.
you.
All right, everybody, as I'm going to think this out. Yes, yes. And if you just figure out what I just said, it was that 5-letter word. So we thank you. We love you. Favor be with you. See you next week. Thank you, two ladies.